Welcome to the High Frequency Podcast. Today I have
Yay.
Dr. Rachel with me. Dr. Rachel, I'm so glad to have you here because every time we talk, it's like it's just like
We,
constant truth bombs from you. So I'm finally glad that we got you here on the podcast. And so Dr. Rachel is the director of the Sanctuary, and the Sanctuary is a mental health, well, it's mental health reinvented. Let's
yeah,
just say that. It's
yeah.
invented, where we kind of embrace this holistic framework of mind, body, and spirit. And we're going to dive into all of that today. So welcome, Dr. Rachel.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you. I thought maybe we could just start with if you wanted to maybe just briefly introduce yourself and what is the sanctuary, and then, we'll go from there.
So yeah, I mean, you started to introduce me. I'm Dr. Rachel, director at the Sanctuary. The amazing thing about the Sanctuary, it is a collective embodied healing space. So this idea that we're coming together in community, we're learning together about the nervous system, about the physiology of trauma, about our challenges through a whole different lens, right? Not that our challenges and our struggles mean that there's something fundamentally wrong with us, but that we're on a normal human journey and that we can navigate this journey much easier if we show up and support and love each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Community is a huge piece of the sanctuary. And I'm going to have you kind of like share your story about how you're passionate about somatic, work, but maybe you could just even start with what is somatic healing? Because I know we talk about that a lot at the sanctuary. So why don't you just start there and then maybe go into your story about how you found somatic healing
Yeah.
as a mental health practitioner or therapist? What is the correct term? Are you mental health therapist? Like what would you call yourself?
So yeah, I mean, I'm a mental health therapist. I'm licensed. Somatic work is viewing kind of struggles, challenges, bodily sensations, symptomology as the body showing up to communicate important things to us. It's the body doing exactly what the body is designed to do. So, somatic work doesn't see symptomology as something to fix or get rid of. It's about bringing everything back into alignment, right? So, the nervous system exists on this continuum of shutdown, disengagement, hyperactivation, and this sweet spot in the middle. And somatic work is how do we come back to balance? How do we notice the sensations in the body? How do we use gentle movement and curiosity and breath to come back to a space of modulation?
Mm. Okay, so one of the first times I ever met you, you threw a stat out at me, and I think that's when I fell in love with you.
Oh,
That's that's I
that's
mean
not.
there's so much to love about you, and everyone just feels the joy and the just authenticity that oozes out of you. But you shared a stat, and I'm not gonna try to paraphrase it, but it's when you were telling me about the 97 versus 3%. Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, yeah. So, really, only 3% of what we categorize as mental illness is really severe, pervasive mental illness. The rest is stress, overwhelm, trauma, dysregulation in the body. It's all stuff that we can heal and recover from.
By lifestyle choices?
Yeah, by lifestyle choices, by community, by connection, by working with the energy body, by supporting our, I mean, there's lots of ways that we could come at this. I mean, really what we're getting at here is talking about mindset, right? Do we see ourselves as someone that's sick and damaged and not able to heal and recover, or do we believe in our innate power to come out stronger on the other side of what we're going through? That's
Yes.
what we're talking about. Is the story, the construct.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah,
That's so good. Because
yeah.
it is. It's like, are we telling ourselves a story that we are broken, that we can't be fixed, and what I always say to people is that it just means you're human. Like you just got stuff
Right,
going
right.
on, and contrast is part of life. And
Yeah.
yes, some people have more contrast than other, but it really is. Oh, I was just listening to another podcast today, and they said the analogy was, do you want to play golf and have a hole in one every single time? because that's going to get boring after about two games. You don't want a hole in one every single time on every. And what she was talking about was like contrast is actually, we want contrast, even if we don't know that we want contrast. So,
Yeah, we want contrast and we certainly don't want struggle. But I love to remind people that if I say to you, tell me about the things that have made you who you are today, that have defined your life, have defined your growth, you're telling me about your biggest challenges.
yes, I would. Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you about my biggest challenge. And also, like in every contrast that I've ever had in life, I can tell you something like why I'm grateful for it or why my life is better because of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you and I both have had contrast, right? Because we're
Oh,
human.
yeah.
But can you share a little bit about your story, whatever you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yes. So I was thinking about this when I was reflecting on how did I find somatic work? And it's like, well, it found me, right? So I started in the clinical mental health field 20 years ago. The pathology-based model of care never resonated with my soul. You know, I never, ever, ever bought into this idea that symptomologies are problems to solve and to get rid of, and that we were sick and had diseases. It never, ever, ever stirred inside of me. But I embarked on the journey. And like any journey that we embark on, I think we encounter our own hardships along the way. And certainly when I experienced my own overwhelming anxiety and stress and burnout, and I reached out to try to get support and to fix it and to fix it fast, right? Because it's usually very inconvenient when life falls apart. It's like, not right now, not right now.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this in my schedule. Um,
Yeah.
it's the personal struggle of realizing there's no easy path to the other side, right? When we experience adversity, there's no going over it, there's no going under it, there's no going around it. The dark night of the soul is something that we really have to embark on. And so for me, doing that work and realizing, I'm the answer. I have the strength inside of me. And
Mm,
it's about, I was talking with Ted this morning. It's both liberating and terrifying to realize that you're the answer, right?
mm, yes.
Because it means that there is then a responsibility to kind of embrace that and to do the work. Um,
Yeah.
and on any journey of personal growth and evolution, certain aspects of us have to die for new parts of us to be reborn.
Mm,
And that was my journey, was following the breadcrumbs of healing myself, finding my way back to regulation. And certainly that doesn't mean that I'm showing up here regulated and balanced and healed because this is a lifelong journey. It's a
yeah.
lifelong journey. But finding out how powerful turning towards symptomology with curiosity can be, trusting the body, trusting the wisdom of the body, believing in my own innate power to heal and to recover and to put all the right people um, in the right places so that I felt supported. That's a
Yeah.
big, big, big part of it.
Yeah.
That's a big part of my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would just say if anyone is listening to this, and they're struggling right now, because that could be you listening to this, just a few words of encouragement that I for 30 years struggled,
Mhm.
dark night of the soul, like ended up like in the hospital, you know what I mean? And now through
Yeah.
just going through it, like you said, moving through it, I learned how to raise my vibration, raise my set point to where it doesn't mean I don't have contrast. It's just I understand it differently. I have a different relationship with it. And so I would say if anyone is struggling out there, we know what that's like. And we have also moved through our own journeys and have a path, have a map.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people this is when life brings you to your knees and everything falls apart and you're disoriented and terrified and truly think that you're dying, right?
Yes.
Um, those are the things that no one can teach you in school. These are the things that soften your soul, open your heart, allow you to create healing spaces for other people. Because, there's something about sharing a space with somebody who says, I don't get your journey exactly, but I get what it's like to feel that terrified and alone and, hopeless, quite frankly, to
Yeah.
not be able to see the light through on the other side.
Yeah. Would you say that that experience, I'm assuming you were already a mental health therapist at the time when you started going through your own healing journey, right? I'm sure, I mean, you probably
Oh,
have
yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot, but what would you say that that experience made you a better healer, a better mental health therapist? Like, how did that affect you?
Oh my gosh. Well, had I have not had that experience, I don't know that I would have embraced energy work in the way that I've embraced energy work.
Yeah.
Dealing with alternative treatment modalities, working with the body, seeing symptomology the way that I see it. Around the same time that I experienced, overwhelming anxiety, a lot of struggles, I was also researching resilience. The universe has such a beautiful way. I'm a good follower of the breadcrumbs because they just kept leading me in all the right directions. But
Yeah.
here I am, like life is falling apart. I'm barely functioning, overwhelming anxiety, and I'm sitting here researching resilience.
Oh,
And what is the literature and the research saying to me? It's community. It's the presence of loving, kind, supportive people that will carry you through, right?
okay.
And I'm thinking, I don't have a tribe. I don't have community.
Mhm.
So it's so interesting how this clinical work and my research interests and my personal struggle led me to the yoga studio and
Mhm.
to the community and to building a network of people who had like mindsets and saying, you know, we need to approach this in a very, very different way for people.
Yeah.
We really want to get at coming out stronger, healthier, and happier on the other side of those dark night of the souls.
Yeah. So when you were going through this, you realized I don't have a community, I don't have a tribe, which by the
No.
way, positive psychology says that's the number one thing that
Yeah,
contributes to happiness is your strength of your community and not necessarily they actually say it in a very specific way. They say it's whether or not you rely on your community in times of trouble or if you come inward and the happiest, healthiest people rely on their community. So you
right.
you realized you didn't have one and you then found a yoga studio and that's when like did you feel like your
Oh,
healing started to
oh yeah.
supercharge after that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was certainly the catalyst, stepping out of my comfort zone. So, to your point about being open to community, even thinking about how we are evolutionarily wired to need each other to survive, right? So, we are conditioned to believe that we can do it alone. We can work hard, we can tap into our own inner resources, we can persist, we can do all of this. And not only do we need, and especially for those of us who are healers, right? To show up and heal, but we need to be able to receive. We need to be able to ask for help. We need to
Yeah.
be able to lean into the vulnerability of saying, like, I'm struggling here and I need this love and care and compassion that I can't give myself right now, right?
Yeah. And then, Dr. Rachel, on the other side of that, what I've seen in my body of work over the last 15 years is that um, when you are trying to heal, your contribution as a healer is also exponentially more powerful in your own healing journey. So it's about both as a tribe, right? It's about contributing to the tribe and then also receiving from the tribe,
Yes.
both.
Both.
Yes.
Both. Both are very, very important because we have to be able to receive. I mean, both of those are wired into our physiological selves, right? I was just telling a group of people at Shine recently. So, out of all the hundreds and thousands of years we've evolved, over 97% of that time we lived in tribes. We had a community
Mhm.
around us. We had a close-knit community that kept us safe.
Yes.
And a lot of us aren't living that way.
Oh. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I will go down. I'll take the 200-foot step down to the lighthouse. And the other day, Lorraine was teaching a certification the other day, and it was day two of it. So I just went down and I wanted to meet the people that were there. And I was down there for about a half hour. And I came back and I texted her and I said, that's going to be the best 30 days of my entire day, 30 minutes of my entire
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
because it just, being in that like-minded community just lifts you up, levels you up. embraces you, like all of the things.
Well, not only the like-minded community, but I think when we show up and we're willing to do the work and we're willing to be vulnerable and we're willing to kind of show up as our most authentic selves wherever we are in that journey, we're also giving permission to everyone else in that room to do the same versus showing up and trying to pretend we have our shit together all the time. Then I'm saying to you, you better have your shit together too.
Oh,
It's just not real. And it's a
I, I
connection
just
because
love you just drop the S-bomb. Yeah. Like let's go there. Okay, so I'm gonna read something and you tell me what you mean by this. Okay, because this is a document that talks about your approach. Okay, and it says healing is possible when we step out of our heads and return to our bodies. Can you talk about that for a second?
yeah. So stepping out of our heads back into our bodies means that we're fully present, we're fully engaged, we're fully aligned. Back to when you think about that nervous system existing on this continuum, and I'm sure you've heard the word dissociation, right? When we're in these activated stress states, either shutting down or becoming hyper engaged, we're not fully present, right? We're in our heads trying to figure out what do I do? How do I figure this out? How do I problem solve? How do I kind of stay a step ahead? It's the whole I kind of describe it as like playing a game you're never going to win, right? You're trying to
Mhm.
use your mind, right, to solve a problem when it's the mind that created the problem. So typically not effective for us, right? We're trying to think our way out of an embodied experience, an embodied kind of misalignment versus coming back to modulation, coming back to safety, coming back to a place where we can lean into connection and putting everything back online, which is really where the magic happens, right?
Yeah. When you say come back to modulation, what does that mean?
So when I say come back to modulation, I'm talking about this ventral vagal state of safety that is when our nervous system is balanced and regulated and where connection is possible. So for us, yeah, so for us, this is our window of tolerance. You
Mm,
know, am I within my window of tolerance? Am I in a place where I feel balanced?
mhm. Yeah, and this isn't necessarily related to mental health, but I heard somebody say the other day that um, if you're feeling fear, your thoughts are never going to get you past fear. The only thing that will get you past fear is action. And why I think that's relevant to this is because, ooh, and I can tell you want to say something. Why I think it's relevant to this is because if you are in a place of fear, you cannot just keep ruminating and think you're going to get out of that. You need to take action, whether that's like going to a yoga class, going to a therapy, whatever.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say? Because I saw your
So,
face.
and I don't know how deep you want to get into the science of all this, but fear is a normal response to our body trying to keep us alive. So the body doesn't know the difference between physical, psychological, and emotional threats to our safety and our well-being, which is something I know when I talk to people about it, they're like, really? It does, me feeling psychologically or emotionally threatened is no different than a tiger chasing me down the road, which I know happens to all of us quite often. It's not any different. And so, yeah, so the body is always trying to set those alarms off to keep us safe. It's not helpful when the alarms are going off when we don't need them to be going off, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes what we have to do is recognize, okay, my body, this fear is showing up to try to keep me safe. My amygdala is firing off, it's sending the signals, we're not okay, this isn't okay. But sometimes, Courtney, what it's about is leaning into the edge anyways. I think this is what you're talking about. I'm coming up to the edge of my comfort zone. There's something about this that doesn't feel safe, but I also recognize the importance of leaning into this boundary, of stretching
Mhm.
myself, right? Because otherwise, we're reacting to the fear, we're shutting down, and we're not growing.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
growing. And
You
that's
know, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I think that's really where the sanctuary comes in, right? Is that it's growth in a safe container. I don't even know that you and I have ever talked about it in that way, but that's what we're doing. Growth and
Oh,
leaning into edges in a safe container with loving support.
I love that. Yes, it is. We're creating this safe container for people. Yes, I love that. Okay, so when you were talking about the mind doesn't know the difference between like physical danger or, the different kinds of danger, it reminded me of two quotes by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who we,
Yeah.
we both love.
Yes.
Like let's just like throw out Norm. We're gonna go there in January to Marco Island, right? Yeah. Um, so he says that the average person says 70% of their time in high beta, which is just fight or flight, right? And that's not because a tiger is chasing us for 70% of our day. That's because we're in stress. So it reminded me of that when you said that. And the second thing is that 90% of what we're doing today is what we did yesterday, which is what we did the day before. By the time we're 35 years old, we're so habitually programmed
Mhm.
that 95% of our thoughts are the exact thoughts and things that we did yesterday. So we have to put ourselves in different environments if we want our life to look different. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, right? We have 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we had yesterday. And for most people, we're living in these activated stress states all the time. So the body doesn't have a good, baseline of safety. The
Mm,
vagus nerve doesn't know about returning to a parasympathetic state because we're just activated, activated, activated. And so being in environments where we're around regulation, this is the difference between being co-regulated and co-dysregulated. When you're stressed and around other stressed people, those environments are very dysregulating. And
yeah.
what I see happening at Shine and what I see happening at the sanctuary and what it absolutely happens in somatic work is that when we all return to a place of safety, we can be attuned to one another and we can create co-regulation in these spaces. And
Yes.
then we're shifting patterns.
Yes.
We're practicing it, we're learning how to do it. And then we
Yeah.
need to practice doing it over and over and over again because that's how you build new neural pathways in the brain.
Yes, consistent, deliberate practices. This isn't like a one-time thing. And I'll just tell you, like, I did live in high beta for the first 30 years of my life, like constantly. And then it started showing up as panic attacks. And at some point, like, my body just like broke down on me, right? I mean, and that's how I
Right,
had a
right.
nervous breakdown. Like, I had a nervous breakdown because I pushed through it and pushed through it and pushed through it. And we can't do that. It's gonna manifest as a physical illness, which is what happened to me. And so now that's what we teach is deliberate, consistent practices so that it's not a one-time thing, right? I heard a story like 10 years ago that, stress is actually not bad for us. Stress is actually good for us unless it's chronic or not followed by recovery. And after I heard that, I realized I had chronic stress that was not followed by recovery. And that's when my whole life changed, right? I just decided I I love what I do. Sometimes I'll sit at my desk and work for 12 hours a day. And if you do that, you better be following it by recovery.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have
Okay.
another. Oh, did you want to say something else?
No,
'Cause I
no,
have
no.
one.
I
I have
mean,
this.
I'll just keep talking. So it's better for you to keep us focused.
Okay. So it's like this is another way in which you approach mental health. Life is messy and healing is hard, but we are not meant to walk this journey alone. We are wired for connection. This is the part that I love because we kind of talked about that first part. Trauma is not only what happens to us, but what happens when we face it in isolation. Wow, mic drop. Trauma is not only what happens to us, but when we in isolation.
Yeah, yeah. And I think something I was reflecting on coming into this conversation, and I certainly felt this when I was going through my dark night of the soul, and I love how you talked about a nervous breakdown. I absolutely think that's what I experienced. It's my nervous system just was so far out there, I didn't know how to come back.
Mhm,
Um, but there's so much shame and guilt around struggle, right? And I'm
mhm,
not just talking about you're running the mill, like I'm having a horrible day struggle, but really feeling like I can't get a handle on, the challenges I'm facing. And it's a normal part of a nervous system response to feel guarded and to want to protect ourselves, especially for us high achieving, perfectionistic, right? People who are like, I can do this alone.
I'll just push through it. Just
Right?
let
I'll
me
just
push
push
through
through it.
it.
And really, we are conditioned from the time that we're very, very, very small children to
Mm,
figure it out, to find a solution, to be very self-reliant. And so it's a combination, I think, of the guilt, the shame, all of the harsh, abusive. I go there because it's abusive self-talk that we engage in when we're in the midst of crises that causes us to try to walk the path alone. And there's a lot of systemic reasons. I mean, how many places are there where we can go and healing community and be surrounded by this meaningful work? So when you're held in love and in community and surrounded by hope, and you have people who have been like, I know this darkness, and I've gotten through to the other side, and I'm holding hope for you, right? When your trauma isn't allowed to be seen, when your struggle cannot be validated, when you're sitting in the dark by yourself, thinking, trying to find a way out of it, and just caught up in a loop that's never ending, it's very, very scary.
yes.
So yeah, trauma is not what happens to us. It's being in isolation and alone with the things that happen to us.
Yes. And I want to talk about how we can help at the sanctuary and how you can help. And because there's so many different levels and layers of the ways that we help people at the sanctuary. That's so beautiful. But before I do that, I want to read one more thing. It says, our symptoms are not enemies, but data sources. And you've said symptomology several times. Can you just speak to that for a second?
hmm Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, we were talking a little bit about this earlier. So the body is full of innate wisdom. And here's the thing, we know this from the practices of yoga, from Ayurveda, from many of the philosophies out there who are teaching us about the body wanting to be in balance and that that's the body's natural state. So any dis-ease or disharmony in the body wants to bring back to balance. So the body creates symptomology as a way to communicate important things to us.
Mm,
Really, if you think about it, I don't know for you, for me, my anxiety was communicating very, very, very important things to me about the way that I was living my life. I wasn't ready to see those things right away because seeing them meant changing, right? Evolving, growing, surrendering what was for new things to be. But all of the symptoms and the struggles that we experience, whether they're communicating something about physiological imbalances, lifestyle imbalances, spiritual imbalances, for a lot of people, these imbalances are about living incongruently,
mm,
you know, being about, you know, like valuing and feeling like one way of living is important, but then finding yourself in external spaces that just aren't aligned. So,
yeah.
Brene Brown loves to say, when we don't listen to and turn towards symptomology and the body with curiosity, guess what the body's doing? Turning up the volume.
Yeah. Oh
Turning up
yeah,
the
that's
volume.
what happened to me until I couldn't not hear it
Could it
anymore.
not hear it?
I know. I just that pinned me that God and the universe just pinned me right to the ground and said,
Yeah.
"You're
Yeah.
not getting up this time until you
Well,
figure this out."
right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens before we embark on any journey. We either, you know, make the choice to do it ourselves, or the universe is like, we're going to give you the awakening that you need to pay attention. So I think for me, the difference in looking at it through this lens is, am I feeling a certain symptom and I want to turn to my external world to try to get rid of it? Or am I turning towards it with curiosity? Am I tending to the symptom? Am I showing up to support myself? One example is asking your anxiety, what do you need from me right now? What do you need? What do you need to feel supported in this moment? And
Yeah.
how can I offer you that? And this is where energy work, gentle movement, body-based ways to calm the nervous system are our way of saying to ourselves, I've got you.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
hear you.
love that
I
phrase. I
hear
love
you.
that phrase.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
hear
got
you.
you.
I see you. I've got you. We're in this together, which is a very aligned way of seeing it versus my body's betraying me. right? I'm sick, something's wrong with me. This causes us to really see our body as an enemy. As
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, as the enemy.
as the
Yes.
enemy. Yeah.
As the enemy. You said you used the word, are we trying to get rid of it, the symptoms? And for me, it wasn't even about getting rid of it. It was just about numbing it and covering it up,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's what I did for
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
years. So,
Well, this is the whole hide it, fade it, fix it,
yeah,
right? Are we trying to hide it, fade it, fix it?
yes.
Or are we really creating space for our experiences to be what they are?
Yeah.
Knowing and understanding that sometimes that's going to be pleasant and uplifting and high vibration, and sometimes it's not going to be that way. There's going to be contrast, there's going to be struggle and darkness, but that every season is meaningful in our evolution and growth. When you think about your soul coming here to do what your soul came here to do, all the experiences along the way have meaning and value.
Yes. Oh, so good. So I already knew that because usually our podcasts are only about 30 minutes. And I was like, I'm not sure about this. Dr. Rachel and I could talk for about 24 hours. So we'll definitely going to have a part two and a part three.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to close out with just sharing people how we serve at the sanctuary. And here's why. Because I wanted to create the sanctuary and I wanted to find the most magical person, and I found Dr.
Oh,
Rachel. I mean, she is, you guys, she's just the most magical person. I knew in about 0.1 second that she was calling this in just as much as I was calling it in, but I wanted to create the sanctuary because this is exactly what I would have wanted 15 years ago when I went
oh,
through my
me
dark night of
too.
the soul. And it didn't exist. I mean, a
Mm-mm.
lot of things exist now that didn't exist 15 years ago, but it was much more underground. Like mine was like I found a healer in the basement of a like,
Yeah,
it was, and I
yeah,
had to like deep search for her on Google. But so this is everything that I would have wanted and more. And so let's just talk about this for a second because what holds people back from healing? I think there's a lot of things that hold people back. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to create lots of different things, meaning here's what and then I'll let you talk about each one briefly. First of all, we offer in person, but yet we also offer online.
mm,
We offer dip your toes in, like
yeah,
come to a 75-minute workshop and test it out and see how you feel, to a 6-week accelerator deep in with other people healing at a group level, going back to that tribe. We offer in the new year, we're going to start offering a because also price points can hold people back. We're going
yeah.
to have at least once a month. If people want it, we're willing to do it every single Sunday. We're calling it I Super Sanctuary Sunday, where
Sanctuaries.
it's just like this community, like think like whether you're religious or not, like church or just like a refuge or a place where you can go and there's no agenda and and you just drop in because you want to give, you want to receive, like whatever that needs to look like. So there are every price point, every time commitment, online, in person, like we got you, right?
Yeah, we got you. Um, and I think the Super Sanctuary Sunday was really born from our conversations around seeing how people were connecting to one another in workshops and starting to have conversations and to share experiences and wanting spaces where they could revisit and pick up that work.
Mhm.
You know, there's something so profound about the fact that even though people are coming into these spaces looking for healing, looking for support, looking for love, they also have that potential within themselves to offer that to other people. So being in a community, and we were just talking about this, recently in an event at the sanctuary, is that we all have such unique lived experiences. And
Mhm.
while I've learned profound things from my lived experiences, I recognize and value that everybody coming to the table has something to offer. Um, Over my 20 years of clinical work and healing, I have learned so much and am so grateful for the things that people have shared me from their own growth and transformation. And so watching other people share and build on this and raise their vibrations together, and it's amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
All right. So for those out there watching, if you're wondering like how do I get involved, how to be because and again, the involvement might even look like at a partnership level, or you're going to be offering certifications, trauma informed certifications to mental health therapists and yoga teachers and all these kinds of things. So there's so much that we're doing at the sanctuary. If you want to get involved, you can find us at shineohio.com/the sanctuary. And I'm going to drop a link below in this video so you can find it there. And also, I want to say, drop comments. Anyone
Yeah.
out there listening, drop comments. Do you want to hear Dr. Rachael talking about a specific, like, do you want us to jump on a podcast and talk about something specific? And you can also, on that same website, you can reach out to Dr. Rachael directly. You can have a free consult. You can do one-on-one
Yeah. Yeah.
embodied coaching. There's just so many ways that we are here to support and serve you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, something that's important to me is being very accessible to people. So this journey is individualized. We want to meet everyone where they are. It's why we have different options for getting involved in the sanctuary. But I'm here. Send me an email, send me a text, ask for a consultation. Let's hop on a call. If something about this talk inspired you and you're like, I want to even expand it further. I mean, I think you and I are about that. Let's have the conversations, let's talk, let's grow it. Whatever ways that we can show up and serve people, that's what we want to do. That's what I
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and this isn't just about we're in Kent, Ohio, but this isn't just about Kent, Ohio. This is like, we can go other places. We can meet you on the internet streets. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how you found us or where you're at when you found us. Like if you are here, it's because you were meant to connect with us in some way. So we look forward
Yeah.
to that. So thank you, Dr. Rachel, so
Thank
much.
you so much for having me.
Yes. And I'm sure there will be a part two coming down the
Yes,
road at some
I
point.
can't, I can't wait.
But until then, just saying bye for now.
Bye for
Bye.
now.
Bye for now.